Why is Notepad? Why is MS Paint so messed up? Wait. Okay, there we go. Hello everybody from YouTube, this is Negative1. Today on my stream, or the stream, whatever, went over like my current thoughts on the meta, just like what I think about decks, and like what I think Konami might do on the ban list. Um, After Casey Cup, immediately after Casey Cup, for those that don't know, a really big winter storm hit Texas, so for the past week I haven't had internet. I haven't had the opportunity to test out decks. So some of my opinions, I will admit, are not like fully as informed as I would like them to be. But generally, I do feel confident for most of these. Dark Lords, as you can see over here, is the one deck that I've thought about, but I am not quite certain on. So I will get to that in a bit. But just like I have a very vague, top tier. I think Water XYZ is very strong at the moment. I think not a lot of people are talking about it. Maybe I think it's pretty good. It runs back row and it has like an interruption in the form of Abyss Dweller. Sending heavy infantry lets it like pop a phase up card on the opponent's turn. So having a monster interruption that is immune to Trunade, so it can interrupt against Onomat, is really good. I like that. Beyond that, it also just runs back row, so it can do decently well against Noble Knights. It has floating, it has pretty good, it's just overall a really solid deck, I think. So it has a lot of good matchups. I think it doesn't do as well against Thunder Dragons, and for that reason, Thunder Dragons may go up in value. Thunder Dragons also have like a pretty good Desperado matchup, so I think Thunder, you could see like an uptick in Thunder getting used, but I think Water is one of the decks I would really keep my eye on. Desperado, I think everybody kind of knows what Desperado does. It flips coins, it can blow stuff up, non-targeting, draws cards. Noble Knights, I think you kind of all know how Noble Knights are. I think a lot of people aren't running Noble Knights at the moment, or if they are, they aren't running the Book of Moon build. So I think when I played MCS, I used triple Book of Moon, and I think if you're gonna play Noble Knights, you definitely want to be running Book of Moon. I think it's really valuable, especially against these other decks. It's good defense. It's good card to help you go second. And for those reasons, why I think Noble Knights are generally struggling. Not a lot of people have triple Book of Moon, so for that reason, I think maybe it's placement. You could definitely argue that it's lower, but I think just by the fact that not everyone has the optimal build, it's hard to say that for certain it should be lower or higher, etc., etc. So I think if you were to make a tier 1, it would generally be something with like Water, Noble Knights, Desperado. I think Thunder Dragons, as good as it is against Water and Desperado, it definitely can struggle against Noble Knights, against Blue Eyes. Automats is a very coin flippy matchup, so I think it may stick to tier 2 for those reasons, but it's coming up as like a valuable deck in the meta. Automats, as I'm sure many of you know, is a really strong OTK deck with Trunade, and Blue Eyes, everybody knows what Blue Eyes is. It's using Karma Cut. Karma Cut, really strong card, but as of now, like the alternatives and the Ultimate Dragons, it's kind of slow. It's not really putting in as much work. Also, you get shut down by Desperado running Quarantine, so for those reasons, Blue Eyes is kind of on the lower end. And then down here we have Trimids, Fire Kings, and Evil Eye because chat really wanted me to talk about them, so they're in the get out of here tier. So that's why they're on here. Dark Lords, they did really well in KC Cup. I think a lot of people ended up swapping to Dark Lords. They used various decks earlier on, but like later in day 3, from what I'm told, a lot of people were running Star Seraph Dark Lords. So I think Star Seraph Dark Lords could be somewhere, maybe tier 1, maybe tier 2, maybe tier 3. And that's like the issue. I don't know where to put them because I haven't really had the opportunity to try them out. I can't say for certain where they should go. So that's my thoughts on that. PDS in the chat asks a very important question: where should digital bugs go? You can't see it, but above the top tier, that's where. Moving on to my kind of thoughts on like how Konami's going to do this ban list. I should preface, this is not like what I think will happen or what I want to happen. This is like knowing Konami and knowing how Konami like balances the game. This is kind of what I'm thinking is gonna happen. I'm thinking like, I think a card like Head Judging could get banned, but realistically, Konami really likes putting cards at 2. If history has shown us anything, Konami will put 7 cards at 2 before they ban 1 card. Like, that's how, like, we had Kakaitis at 1 for so long. We had Grass at 1 for a long time. Like, they don't like banning cards, so Head Judging definitely seems like a card that they're going to put at 2, just so that Desperado can't run it, just so that all these other decks, literally random deck on the ladder isn't running like a bunch of Head Judgings, I guess. So I think for those reasons, Head Judging could definitely go to 2. The Noble Knight Trap, I think, could go to 2. You could also say like Noble Knight Boars could go to 2. One of the two. I don't think they'll hit both, but I definitely think that they will hit at least one. So I think it's a safe bet to say that they're going to hit one of these two, just because Boars' consistency, Noble Knight Trap is very good for their grind game, and Konami doesn't really like that, so I think they're definitely going to put a 2 in somewhere on the deck. So moving on to the next point. Automats, they've been using Trunade recently. As many of you know, Onomatopoeia, the deck that uses the skill Automata Play, has been using Hey Trunade to Trunade and then OTK going second a lot of their games. They also use Dododo Draw at 3 copies. What should Konami do? Well, in the past we know that Konami has looked at Dragoonity, saw Dragoonity use Trunade and then OTK someone, and then they saw that and said, okay, these Dragoonity cards are a problem. So what should they do? They should ban Trunade, but what are they going to do? They're going to put the draw to 2. Like, that's just it's just what Konami will do, knowing them. So that is like the expectation. And then Karma cut to 2. This is something I think is very possible, and a lot of people in like the chat have like kind of questioned this, and I think it's fair to question this, but I think Karma Cut is definitely one of the cards that has seen a lot of widespread use, and as we get like various decks, I think it can only like increase in use, because Karma Cut bypasses floating, it bypasses a lot of protection. A lot of cards are like, okay, if you destroy this card, then you get another card. You just get like free stuff. Like if you destroy Winda, it floats into another Winda or an Ulti Apelio, so on and so forth. If you destroy, the Noble Knight XYZs, they float into other monsters. However, if you karma cut them, you banish, and like that's really strong. It's really hard to power creep banishing, so I think it's very possible that they might put it to 2. Also, because I know um, history has shown Konami will like semi-limit or nerf cards depending on how much people may hate playing against them. I think Amazoness Swordswoman was a pretty prime example of like this card isn't overpowered at the moment, but people do not enjoy just like getting cheesed, like burn decks just summon Amazoness Swordswoman, cheese a game, or like Cyberstein was another example of like it was put to 1 and then people would still just run cheese decks, and it's like at 1 copy Cyberstein is not that good, or like it's not meta relevant in the slightest, but the fact that people will still cheese wins with it, and it's like it's not fun for the game, they banned the card. So I think even if Karma Cut isn't that strong at the moment, it's very possible that they will still put a restriction on it. So for that reason, I think Karma Cut could go to 2. And then lastly, I put like they're definitely gonna put some like non-relevant card at the moment off the ban list. I think there's that one like Hero Assault or like Neos Assault, where it has like a picture of Neos, and then it lets the monster attack twice, and it's an equip spell, and that's literally all the effect. And it went to 3 last ban list, so you know we're gonna get some like inconsequential cards maybe coming off the ban list. I think that's definitely very possible, but I think that's for the most part my like expectations with this ban list. Like that's definitely what I would expect Konami to do. If they do more, or you know, if they actually do ban Trunade, I would be happy. But I'm not gonna say that they will do it, just because history has shown that they would prefer to ban, or they would prefer to put a card on the semi-limit list than to ban either Trunade or Treacherous Trap Hole, etc. And then for skill changes, I kind of facetiously put nothing, but I think it's very possible that they won't really nerf many skills. I know people in the chat were talking about automata play, but if they just put the Dododo draw to 2, then it doesn't really matter if the deck is super consistent if it can't really Trunade into OTK. If it doesn't have Trunade, then it has to like play into back row. So to some degree, I think they could put Dododo draw to 2 and then not even touch the skill. I think that's very possible. I think they could touch balance, and instead of saying, okay, you're guaranteed to have a monster spell and trap if you run like say these ratios and this card in this deck size. The most notable is that Noble Knights, if they run 30 cards, you can run 9 spells, for instance, and you're guaranteed a spell, or 9 traps and you're guaranteed a trap. It's possible that they'll just remove the guarantee and say it's an increased chance. You might get it, you might not. And I think that's kind of... I don't like it when they're not very transparent with their changes, but I think it's definitely possible that they will change the skill like that. So, with all this, I would definitely say expect the ban list to drop at midnight EST on Friday. So, if you live on Central Time or the West Coast, that's late night on Thursday. If you live in the Eastern Hemisphere, expect it just sometime on Friday. But this is definitely the time frame I would expect the ban list to come out. So this is not a guarantee, though. Maybe it comes out sooner, maybe it comes out later, maybe it doesn't come out, period, and Konami has abandoned us forever, and we're forced to play with 3-head judging, and it's a nightmare realm. But if I were to guess, this is when it's coming out. these are the cards I would expect to get hit. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Peace.